Hello everyone. Today we will have two interesting stories. Before we get to that, I want to ask you to subscribe, like, and be sure to write comments in order to participate in the development of the community. Write how to improve my community, current topics and the stories you are interested in, and much more. I read and listen to all the comments. People write me stories by mail from different countries. There are problems with translation. I apologize for this. I will work on it and try to fix these errors. I want to thank everyone for their support and the people who wrote to me by mail. Broadcast news stories. New videos on my channel are published every 2 days at 7 p.m. Don't forget to put a bell in order not to miss new videos. And now let's go. Hello, I want to tell you my story. I'm 40 years old, but I look much younger. Always enjoyed female attention. One day I met a girl who was 20 years old. She had a job at our company. In general, the girl fell in love with me. She said she loved me and couldn't live without me. She called me nonstop and texted me. The girl behaved like a child. The situation with dad and daughter didn't suit me, and this type of girl didn't suit me. In general, I didn't take this relationship seriously. I had a psychological barrier in sex. I thought she was like a daughter to me. Consequently, we had problems with sex. I couldn't get aroused at all, or it was happening very quickly. She didn't inspire me in bed. Before her, everything was fine with me and sex, but she was never dissatisfied. By the way, I forgot to say that for the last 2 years, I've not had a permanent intimate partner. I divorced my ex-wife. The child stayed with me. Well, that's a separate story. As a result, I began to slowly retract. I'm falling in love. For 4 months, everything was fine. Movies, restaurants, moonlight walks, future plans, and so on. What a fool I am. After a while, she started moving away from me. She began to call and write less. We began to see each other very rarely. Another week passed, and she called me and said that she doesn't see a future with me, that she wears pink glasses and we should break up. And anyway, she's going to study in another country. Time will pass and everything in our life will change. I agree with her. At least deep down, I felt very bad. 3 days later, she texts me that she loves me and can't live without me. She asks me for forgiveness and says she wants to be with me together. I made an appointment with her. When we met, she was crying and begging for forgiveness. As a result, tears, snot, loving eyes. I forgave her, and we went to my house. We drank a bottle of wine and wanted to have sex, but it didn't work out for me. I got scared and went to the hospital the next day. I passed the tests and they told me to wait a week for the results. After a while, my girlfriend calls me again. She said again, "Let's stay friends. I'm sorry, but we can't be together. I love you, but we're not on the way." In general, I was furious. I told her not to call or write to me anymore and to do as she sees fit. From that moment on, I was overcome by depression. I felt really bad. I think people who have experienced a breakup will understand me. The next day, I'm going to the hospital. My tests are ready. As a result, there are 2 diseases that are sexually transmitted. These diseases do not manifest themselves externally in any way. Everything else is fine and all the problems are in my head. I was at a loss about the diseases I had discovered. For 2 years, except for this girl, I haven't had sex with anyone. By the way, she is a regular client of the gynecologist, but she told me that she had problems with women's affairs. In the end, I bought myself a lot of pills. In a state of shock, I began to be treated. I didn't say anything to the girl. The next day, I come to work. Let me remind you that we work for the same company. In general, I feel that something is wrong. Everyone was walking around looking at me and whispering behind my back. But no one said anything to my face. As a result, I find out that my girlfriend has started dating another young guy. He was an athlete and he was 25 years old. But at work, they hid their relationship. She told everyone that I had problems with sex. I understood this from the idiotic hints of my colleagues. No one said anything to my face. In general, I'm in a terrible depression. I reluctantly walked to work and pretended that nothing had happened. All my colleagues pretended that nothing had happened. This atmosphere at work was killing me from the inside. The worst part was when I saw her. Old memories came back to me and depression gripped me even more. In general, I lived 6 months like hell. I've cured all venereal diseases. I was treated by a therapist to quickly overcome this pain. After a while, I found a new girl. She was 35 years old. She is more mature, and we live soul to soul. We're planning a wedding soon. Speaking of that little bitch, she cheated on her new boyfriend. All her new relationships took place at work with colleagues. All these guys picked up venereal diseases from her. They were furious. It was funny to watch them all yell at her at work. At that moment, I was standing and smiling, looking into her eyes. I realized that karma had overtaken her, and all my colleagues who looked at me with contempt and whispered behind my back also got their due. In general, she could not stand the psychological pressure and quit. Where did she go? Don't even ask. I don't know. But she got what she deserved. If you liked it, give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Before we move on to the opinion of the author of the channel, we're going to have another short story. Let's go. Hello, my name is Jack. 2 years ago, I started a relationship with a girl. The girl had a child. She was 32 years old. I've known her for 12 years. We went to university together. In general, we started communicating within a week. As a result, I ended up in the friend zone. But everything suited me. We sometimes called up and spent time together. After a while, she gets married. After that, I stopped communicating with her. 3 years later, I met her in a bar. She looked really good. We immediately found a common language. She was cocky and confident. I like this type of girl. She hooked me again. During our dialogue, I find out that her husband abandoned her when her newborn baby was 3 months old. Accordingly, her ex-husband is a fool, and so on. Questions, why did he leave his wife with a small child? They started coming to my mind a little later. I will add that her ex-husband gave her many gifts: car, diamonds, branded clothing, and so on. At that time, I was at the stage of breaking up a relationship. She made attempts to meet me, but I managed to see her after I closed my old story. And all this time I was very busy. My business has gone up the hill. Business has gone up the hill. Business, sports, and so on. I felt very confident I had big plans for the future. Maybe my subconscious was leading me away from our meeting. In general, we met a couple of times. We shared our stories with each other. I felt very sorry for her. I had sex with her out of pity. She was drunk and molested me herself. For the New Year holidays, I flew to the islands to surf her. As soon as I got back, it all started. 6 months of daily intimacy, euphoria, and declarations of love. I remember her words. You are the best man in the world. I've been looking for you for so long. In a fit of passion, I promised to marry her and have a child. I loved her very much and wanted to build a family with her. I accepted her child as my own. After a while, a series of failures began in my life. I crashed my car and broke my leg. I didn't do sports anymore. Business problems began. Out of desperation, I started drinking alcohol. Psychologically, I was crushed. I didn't communicate with my friends anymore because they didn't accept my common-law wife. I came across correspondence on her social networks. She was discussing my personal problems. No one else knew that. She told her friends that she doubted my future. She also said she was willing to endure me for the sake of my big apartment. But she also wrote to other friends that she loves me madly. I trusted her a lot, so when I read the correspondence, I couldn't believe my eyes. I want to clarify one point. We have never lived together. She lived in her father-in-law's apartment. He let her live for a while until she will find a new husband. That's why she came to me for 4 days a week. All this went on and only got worse for 2 years. All this went on and only got worse. I tried to establish a relationship with her. I held on to her like a lifeline. It was like hell, but I couldn't break off the relationship with her. There were 2 attempts to break off the relationship, but it all ended with our reconciliation. For 2 years of our relationship, I gave her gifts in the amount of $150,000. However, she later told me that she didn't live very well because her ex-husband began to help less financially when he found out that I had appeared. In the summer, I took her to the ocean. Everything seemed to be in order. Love, unlimited sex wherever possible, and so on. After we returned home 3 days later, she said she couldn't live like this anymore. That with the appearance of me in her life, everything became very bad. For 2 days, I wrote to her nonstop. I tried to get her back. She wrote that I was very important to her. She is grateful to me for opening up a new world for her, but now she needs to sort herself out. I flew away on a business trip. I started posting new photos on social media. I had fun in my free time as much as I could. As a result, she started texting me every day. She said she doubted the breakup of our relationship. I fell into her trap. I succumbed to my emotions and started responding to her. After that, she distanced herself from me again. As a result, old memories came flooding back to me. In a drunken stupor, I blamed myself for everything that was possible. I lost my treasure and so on. As a result, I returned home. I stood under her windows every day. I wrote to her that everything would be different. Everything will be as she wants. But she ignored me. She wrote that she treated me and our relationship inadequately. She started posting photos on social networks, how she plays sports, has fun, and how everything is fine in her life. I was completely depressed. As a result, I have a nervous breakdown. I visited the therapist for 4 months and drank antidepressants. I had suicidal thoughts. My life was being destroyed before my eyes. I was only thinking about her. My self-esteem has dropped to zero. In general, I barely got out of this hell. I don't want any of you to go through the same thing. I remember this, and a shiver runs through my body. In general, I moved away from this situation. After a while, she writes to me again. I ignored her for 2 weeks. As a result, we crossed paths with her in a nightclub. We had a wonderful night and went home. She started texting me again every day. I was already careful this time. I ignored her. As a result, she started standing under my house. She wanted to meet me and talk to me. At that moment, I was remembering myself. One day, we met on the street. She was crying and asking why I was ignoring her. She wanted our relationship back. In response, I said it was too late. She should have thought of that when I was standing under her windows. I saw the emptiness in her eyes. I turned around and walked away. She tried to stop me, but I won't make my mistake again. I will never fall into this trap again. In general, to this day, she does not leave me alone. I live alone. I don't want any relationship yet. I travel and live for my own pleasure. Girls for one night, no more. Friends, draw conclusions, and don't repeat my mistakes. If you like the story, give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Now let's move on to the opinion of the author of the channel. The opinion of the author of the channel. By tradition, I wish strength to both heroes. I am glad that both survived the breakup of their relationship and started a new life. Both in the first and in the second case, the men made the same mistake. They let the girl know that they depend on her. This is a global mistake of all men. A man should take a strong position in a relationship. A girl should have an attention deficit when she wants to break off your relationship. There's no need to stop her in any case. The man in the second case stood under the windows for several days. I was shocked. Men, please respect yourself. In both cases, the girls took a weak position only after the man began to ignore them. But when a girl writes to you after the breakup of your relationship, this is a girl casting bait. The girl wants to understand that you are still suffering and want to bring her back. As soon as the girl understands, the man becomes uninteresting to her. I have an article on this topic. If it's interesting, write in the comments. If you have watched to the end, I want to say thank you very much. I love you all. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. I appreciate your support and encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this story. Your participation and feedback are invaluable for shaping our content and promoting mutual understanding and community growth. Until we meet again.